everybody and welcome back to another video. So firstly, I just want to apologise because this video was originally intended to go up 2 weeks ago. However, we were going away for the weekend and I just wasn't going to have the time to do it justice, and I didn't want to quickly film something and upload it just to have it out there if I wasn't really happy with it. So I postponed it to this week. I do also want to say thank you so much for all the support so far on this channel. Some of my videos now are almost on 400, 500 views and my mind is blown. I actually can't believe that so many people are interested enough in what I have to say that they're clicking on the video at least, never mind actually watching them. So thank you so much for that. If you're new here and this is the first video of mine you're watching, hello, welcome. My name is Louise and this all started because of a postponed wedding due to the pandemic and an Instagram account, which is always linked below if you'd like to follow me there as well. I now do a lot of wedding planning videos as well as home, lifestyle and travel videos. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to click that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my uploads. I do upload every Sunday at 6 PM, but if you click the subscribe button and the little bell, you'll get a notification when the video goes up. On the topic of wedding videos, today I thought I would do a video all about our experience of giving our notice of marriage. We had our appointment with the registrar in Whitehaven almost 2 weeks ago now, and I just thought it might be useful for anyone out there who is currently going through this process for the first time, or who, like us, is starting to go through the process for a second time because of a postponement or anything like that. So I hope this might be of some use to you. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our experience and just some little tips that I've picked up along the way. We had our original appointment to give notice at the end of 2019 for our wedding in May 2020. Obviously that wedding date didn't go ahead, and as you may know, when you give notice, that notice is only valid for a certain length of time. Because of our postponements, this time expired and it meant we've had to go through the process again for our new wedding date. Luckily, we hadn't already done this for any of our other wedding dates, so we haven't had to do it any more times, just this second one. I remember back at the end of 2019, which just feels like forever ago now, I was so excited for this appointment. I know that maybe sounds really stupid, but it just felt like it meant the wedding was so much closer and it made it feel more real, if that makes sense. I think because this was the legal part of it, it felt like such a huge milestone and it felt like the wedding was sort of really set in stone. It just made it feel so much more important and so much nearer, and I was just really excited for it. Of course then after that things went a bit downhill, but at the time I was just so excited for this appointment. I do want to just stop here a moment just to say that this is just our experience going through the process. It might not be the same as what you experience. Obviously, we're getting married in a church. If you're not getting married in a church, it might be slightly different. Even in different areas of the country, it could be different. And if this is still on YouTube in however many years' time and you're not watching it when I've uploaded it, then things could have completely changed again by then, as they did change slightly recently. So this is just our experience with our local area and with our situation. I will link our council's website and where I found all the information in the description box below, just in case you want a bit more of the official information if you're from our area. For us, this process started with making our appointment online. I just want to give a big shout out to Mrs. Ali2B on Instagram, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known that you could actually make your appointment online. When we booked our appointment for our original one in 2019, I did it over the phone because I thought that was the only way to do it. And if you know me at all, or if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that I hate using the phone. If I can avoid using the phone to do anything, I will. If I can do it over Facebook, email, text message, I will take that option every time over having to use the phone. And it wasn't helped by the fact that originally the person I spoke to wasn't the most pleasant. I know it's like a legal appointment and I know it's official and she has to be proper, but it's still for a wedding. It's still exciting, it's still a happy occasion, and she was just a bit miserable really and put a bit of a downer on it for me when I was so excited. So I was really glad when I found out that this time I could do it online and avoid having to have that interaction again, so that it wouldn't put a downer on it for the second time. I'll try and put a video here of me going on to the section of the website on my phone that we use to book our appointment on our local council's website. If the video doesn't appear, then I haven't managed to do it, but I will try. But basically you go onto your local council website, and then at least for us, we went on to births, marriages and deaths, and then we went on to the section for marriages, civil partnerships, etc. And then about halfway down the page there was an option to book an appointment to give notice of marriage. Once you click on there, if you click on the next link and then scroll down to the page, there is a green button that gives you the option to book an appointment. Once you click on this, I'm not going to go through the whole process if I have managed to put a video on, because I don't want to accidentally book another appointment. But once you get onto there, it basically just asks you for yours and your partner's details. So it'll ask you for your names, your address, it'll ask for an email address and phone number to contact you on, and then it'll also ask you where you're getting married and what date you're getting married, and then it'll ask you to select which 2 pieces of ID you're going to bring with you to the appointment. You do need 2 pieces of ID each for your identity and your address, and it does tell you on there what pieces of ID these can be. It'll tell you everything that you can use. Once you've selected that, it will then bring up the local places you can go to for your appointment and which dates and times are available. I did find that this didn't work brilliantly from my phone. It was only giving me the option of one date. So I tried again on my laptop and it gave me loads of dates. So it must have just been an issue either at the time or an issue with doing it on my phone. So I would suggest doing it from a laptop or a desktop computer, just in case you have the same problem that I did. So as I said, you do need 2 pieces of ID per person. One of these is to prove your identity, and one of these is your proof of address. They do give you a list of everything you can use, but in my opinion, they really need to look at that list. It's really outdated. When you think now that everything is online and paperless, it makes it really hard to get some of the things that they're wanting you to bring for your proof. So, for example, one of the things was a bank statement, but it had to be within the last, I think it was 1 or 3 months, which all of our bank statements are online, and by the time I looked at this, it was too late to order a paper one because they take 7 days to come. So I did have a bit of a panic for about an hour the day before our appointment, because obviously we'd been away for a few days before that, so I was getting everything sorted in a rush and I just could not find anything to take with us. We had our passports for our proof of identity, but I couldn't find anything for the proof of address, especially because you need 1 each. We did end up using my driver's licence for me, and I managed to find a mortgage statement to use for Richard's proof of address. That it had to be within 12 months, and this came 11 months ago, so it was just within the cut-off limit. So we used those. But as I say, I do hope in the future for anyone that has to do it, they'll look at that list and find things that you could use or accept electronic versions of things, because it was such a hassle. I will try and link in the description as well the list of what it says you can use for your proof of ID, just in case anyone wants to have a look at it. But as I've said before, do check with your own council's website at the time, just in case anything has changed. Obviously at the minute as well, places do have COVID restrictions in still in some instances, so I did make sure to check if there was anything else we had to do or take with us for our appointment. It did ask you to wear masks when you were in the building, and it did also ask you to sanitise your hands on arrival. There was a sanitiser at the entrance, but I had took my own in my handbag just in case. The other thing it did ask you to bring with you that I would never have thought of was to bring your own pen. That does make sense now that I think about it, because obviously you don't want to be using the same pen that God knows how many other people have used. But it was just something I would not have thought of, so I made sure to put a couple of those in my handbag just in case, and we did end up where she asked us to use our own pen, so it was a good job I had done what they'd asked. I will admit, on the day and leading up to it, I was a little bit nervous for this appointment, much more so than last time for some reason. I don't really know why. I think partly because I know that it's sort of an official appointment and things like that always make me nervous anyway. And also, as stupid as it sounds, because I know that if they thought there was anything untoward or not right legally about our marriage, then they could put a stop to it. I know that's completely irrational because there is nothing untoward, everything's as it should be. We're both legally free to marry, so there was nothing for them to find fault with, but it does just put me a bit on edge. And as well as that, if you know me, you'll know that I'm the kind of person who likes to have a plan. I like to know exactly what I'm doing. I like to know exactly what to expect from things. And because there've been some slight changes in the process for giving notice and signing the register and things that happened in May of this year, I was a bit nervous as to what that would mean would happen at the appointment, what changes there might be. So I didn't really know what to expect, so that was also making me a bit nervous as well. Of course, as with anything that I ever worry about, I needn't have worried. It was all absolutely fine. The registrar that conducted our appointment was lovely and so friendly. When she knew that we had done it before, she didn't feel the need to go through every little detail with us because she knew that we would already know it. So it actually went a lot more smoothly and was a lot easier than the first time we did it. So if anyone out there is feeling a little bit nervous about it or a little bit worried, believe me, you don't need to be. It's absolutely fine. Initially, I wasn't sure whether to mention to the registrar about the changes that I knew had happened in May and how it would affect things, or whether to just see if she brought it up or see what happened. But my worrying nature got the best of me, and pretty much as soon as we were sat down, I did mention to her that we'd done this before and obviously we'd had to postpone because of COVID, and I knew that there'd been some changes since then, and how would this affect things, what differences would there be. I'm really glad I did mention that we'd done it before, because as soon as I mentioned that, she made a point of saying that we wouldn't need to pay at this appointment. Usually it is £35 per person, and that's what we paid at our appointment in 2019. But because we'd already paid it once, in her words, it's not our fault the wedding didn't happen. So we didn't have to pay again, so that was a lovely surprise. I had heard that a lot of people saying you didn't need to pay if you'd already done it before, but that was a long time ago and I hadn't really heard anything about it since, and I couldn't see anything official about it when I looked on the government website. So I took money with us, assuming that we would have to pay, so it was a really, really nice surprise that we didn't have to. So that definitely made me feel a lot more relaxed. As for the changes to the process, when I did ask about that, basically the only major change in regards to the appointment and what happens after it is that instead of getting the blue forms that you used to get sent out to you after your appointment, which is what we got sent at the end of 2019, you now get what is called a marriage schedule. So our registrar that we spoke to said she wasn't sure if that would be posted directly to us or if it would automatically go directly to the church where we're getting married. And I've since looked online, because obviously me wanting to know what's going on and want to find answers, and on the council website it says that we have to collect the marriage schedule, but it doesn't actually say where you have to collect it from or how long after the appointment you can collect it. So I have sent an email to them just to ask for a bit of clarity on that. When I get a response, I will put a little addition to the description box, just in case you're in this situation yourself and you don't get it explained to you either. But either way, we will get our marriage schedule, and that is what we use instead of our blue forms to give to the priest. And that is basically the only major change. A couple of little tips I would give you just about the appointment in general. Make sure you both know the date, time and location of your ceremony, because they will ask you these details, and if you happen to get them wrong, you would have to start from scratch and do it again, because they do get printed on the official paperwork, so that would need to be corrected and you would have to do it all again. As well as that, I can imagine it could be a little bit awkward if they ask you for your wedding date and one of you gets it wrong. Sorry boys, I'm looking more at you on this one, because it's more likely to be you that gets it wrong, I think. Really, with the amount of postponements we've had and the amount of different dates we've had, it's a wonder we got our dates right, but luckily we did. We got all of that information correct. The second tip I would give is that when you are booking your appointment and when you're at your appointment, the website and the system that they use can be very, very picky about how you word the location of your ceremony. You have to sort of select it from like a drop down box, and for our location I tried 3 or 4 different ways of putting it in and it just would not find it. Our ceremony, for anyone who doesn't know, we're getting married at a local church that my fiance's family go to, which is, the official title is Our Lady, Star of the Sea and St Michael's. Now I tried just putting in St Michael's because there is a couple of them and I thought it would give me those options. Didn't find it. I tried just putting Our Lady in St Michael's, which is what it often gets shortened to. Didn't find it. I then tried its full name, still didn't find it, and I think in the end I put its postcode in and it managed to find it from that, but the registrar, when we went to the appointment, also had a lot of difficulty trying to find it on her system that she was using as well. So just a little bit of warning, it might take a bit of fiddling and a bit of faffing to get the actual ceremony location. As well as your date, time and location of your ceremony, they will also ask you your personal details, so your full names, your dates of birth, your addresses and your employment. This is where your 2 forms of ID come in. They will then also ask you for the details of parents and their employment. So this was the only other thing that had really changed since our original appointment, is that back in 2019 you just put the birth father's name and employment on the documents. There wasn't any option to include both parents or just to include the mother, it was just the father. Now that has changed and you have the option of including up to 4 parents on there. So to give a little bit more variation and to give the option to include things like step parents, you can now choose who is included. So that does give you a lot more flexibility, and it's obviously going to be better for people who they maybe won't even know who their father is, or they maybe don't have involvement with their father. And back when we first had our appointment, you didn't have the choice, you had to put them on there. So that's changed now. The way they do this bit of the appointment is they split you up. So one of you waits outside while the other one answers the questions, and then you swap over. So at our appointment, Richard stayed in the room, answered the questions, and then he signed his copy of the documents. Then we swapped. I went in, I answered the questions, and I signed my copy. I think I did get the better end of the deal because she'd already done it all with him, so it was basically just a case really of confirming it with me. It could have been a little bit tricky because I didn't think about the fact that we've both changed jobs since our last appointment. So when she asked us what we did for a living, I automatically went to say what our jobs had been and had to stop myself because we've got new jobs. So that could have been a little bit awkward, but it was fine. That all went really smoothly. And that's about it. It's nothing complicated, they just ask you for basic details, and as long as you know all the information to give them and you've got your ID, then it's really smooth and really simple. Now all that's left to do is wait what I think is 28 days, so 2 or 3 weeks, and we should have our marriage schedule. Obviously, as I said, we still don't know quite how we're going to have it, but hopefully I will get a response from the registrars soon, and as I say, I will put that in the description when I do have an update for you, in case anyone else is in the same boat. But yeah, we're one step closer to officially being married. That's sort of the legal part of it done until the wedding day. As for the wedding day, obviously with the changes that happened in May, there's only really one big impact on the actual wedding day from that, and that is that instead of signing the register, which everyone knows that you sign the register, you don't do that anymore, and you don't get your marriage certificate then and there. You sign your marriage schedule. So if we have to say go and collect that and then we give it to the church, we then sign it on the wedding day, as do our witnesses. That then has to go back to the registrars, which it then gets processed and put on the system, and I think it's 7 days after they receive it, you can then apply for your marriage certificate. Now, that could be completely wrong. That's just going off what I've read online when I've been doing a bit of research. As I've said a few times, you know what I'm like. I like to know things. I like questions to be answered. I like to know what I'm doing and what I'm dealing with. So I have tried to look it up, and from what I can tell, that's the basics of it, that you sign it on your wedding day, goes back to them, and then you apply for your marriage certificate. So it's not really a big change in the grand scheme of things, but it does seem a bit like they've made it more complicated than it was, and more complicated than it really needs to be. But that's just the way it is now. As I say, this has just been our experience with making our appointment and attending our second appointment for giving notice for our wedding. I hope that this might have been useful to some of you out there in some way. I just wanted to give a couple of little tips of things that I've picked up while doing it for ourselves, and things that you may not think of or be wondering before you go for your appointment. I know I would have felt a lot better if I'd have been able to watch something like this. Would have settled my nerves a little bit, just so I knew what to expect. So I do hope that it has been helpful to some of you out there. If you are about to go to your own appointment, or you're booking it, or if you're another postponed bride like me, leave a comment down below just saying hi and how you're feeling about the whole wedding planning situation and everything, and how you're getting on. If you aren't subscribed, please do make sure to click that subscribe button and the little notification bell so that you don't miss any uploads. I will be back again next Sunday at 6 p.m. with another one. It will be our Liverpool trip video with a little bit of a mini haul from Primark at the end. Thank you so much for watching again. It really does mean the world to me, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye.